Well, how do you do buckaroos? So I've got one that I just found. It is a Rocktown, Arkansas straight bourbon whiskey, 2010 on the label there. 92 proof, aged 3 years, product of Arkansas, 46% alcohol by volume, 92 proof, obviously. Anyways, I'm going to read just a touch from their website. Bear with me. Rocktown, Arkansas, 3-year-old straight bourbon whiskey. Our 3-year-old straight bourbon whiskey is distilled using the same process as Rocktown's award winning Arkansas bourbon, but is aged for 3 years in 53-gallon new charred barrels and is bottled at 92 proof. This bourbon was distilled in mid 2011. I don't know why it says 2010 on my bottle here, but it do. Uh, right there. Oh, established this one, the distillery. I'm following you. I know I'm picking up what you're putting down. Anyways, this bourbon was distilled in mid 2011 and early 2012, mashed from Arkansas corn, Arkansas wheat. So it's using wheat as a secondary grain and malted barley, fermented, distilled, and aged for 3 years, bottled and packaged at the distillery in Little Rock. We're makers, not fakers. It follows all the guidelines to be straight bourbon whiskey, produced in the United States, made from fermented grain that has at least 51% corn, aged in new charred containers, distilled to not more than 160 proof. Blah 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 blah. It follows all the directions that it needs to be considered straight bourbon whiskey. This is Arkansas, not Kentucky. I did a written review on it yesterday. Oh goodness gracious! With some on the rocks. So this is the first time I'm actually having this neat. I've got about an ounce and a half here. Neat in my Rocktown nosing glass or Glencairn glass. I noticed yesterday when I had it on the rocks, I was getting a lot of spice, almost like rye was a secondary grain, but they use wheat. But I was feeling a lot of spice on it. Now having it neat on the rocks, I had it yesterday, but having it neat now, I'm noticing more sweetness on the nose than I noticed it on the rocks. A lot of sweetness, a lot of sugar, almost like a deep molasses brown sugar, you know. Chug a boom, that's good. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, baby. That's what they like. I don't know if they mentioned some tasting notes here on their website. Hints of dark chocolate on the nose, smooth milk caramel on the palate, medium dry vanilla cookie finish. Yeah, I noticed when I had it on the rocks, I was noticing a lot of those things. I wasn't necessarily getting that medium dry vanilla cookie finish. I don't know what they're expecting there, cookie finish. I don't know. I was getting vanilla. I was getting the caramels. I don't know about cookie finish, but get what you get. I do feel some of that dark chocolate. There's no doubt. I am feeling some vanilla. I'm feeling some caramel. I don't know what the I don't know about cookie finish. I mean, I don't know if I'm supposed to be getting some of that doughiness. I'm not feeling that, to be honest with you. But it could be the way my palate is interpreting it. What I am getting though is a whole lot of yumminess. Oh, this is nice. The bottom line though, this is a 3-year-old bourbon, and it was only $23 a bottle, 22.98 actually. So there are those that are going to ask, well, Tom, I can buy other big distillery products that are 4-year-old whiskeys for less than that. So why should I buy a 3-year-old? Well, because you're talking about You're talking about a craft distillery. You're talking about a boutique distillery. It's a little bit different. We're also talking about a distillery that uses all local ingredients. I think there are those that, as far I'm a beer guy too, most of you know that. So there are those that say, well, why isn't this macro product as good as the craft? I think we're talking about quality of ingredients. I think that plays a lot into it. We're talking about a smaller operation, maybe more care is taken. So even though this is only a 3-year-old bourbon, I think it is better than some that I've had that from macro distilleries that are 6, 7, and 8-year-old bourbons. This is a fine bourbon. I think also as a whiskey guy, I think some of us make too much about the actual ages on the bottle rather than paying attention to the quality. This is a clear quality. I'm getting some spiciness too, not as much as I was getting with it on the rocks, but again, this uses wheat as a secondary grain as opposed to rye. With rye as a secondary grain, I expect that spice, but I'm getting more than I really intended to with that wheat mash. And although I was getting a whole lot of sweetness on the nose, and I still am. I'm still feeling a lot of sugars on the nose. I'm not feeling it on the palate. All I get is just a smooth, incredible whiskey. What's really pleasing about it is the texture, is the mouthfeel. The only thing I can think of that comes close is the 8-year-old Green Ore um, Irish whiskey that again had that just very silky kind of velvety texture that I just enjoyed. Um, and that was an 8-year-old whiskey, but this one has that similar mouthfeel that it's just so texturally pleasing. Wow, it's just amazing. I don't think texturally is a word. I think I just made it up. The texture is very pleasing. Let's just say that. There is a little bit of sweetness, but not as much as on the nose. Not as much as there is on the nose. It's just very nice. It's a very enjoyable whiskey. Yeah, I love everything this company does. To be honest with you, I mean, I know this video is going to sound a bit like a love letter, but the truth is, I've had a lot of their products, and I've loved every one of them. I have some of their Arkansas moonshine here on hand. I have their barrel aged, not barrel, but bottled barrel strength bourbon on hand. It's amazing. But this 3-year-old is just freaking. It's just nice. And again, it was only $23 a bottle. I've certainly paid a lot more for bourbons that don't have the character that this bourbon has at only $23 a bottle. But I'm a huge fan of Rocktown. I really am. This stuff is great. Um, I a few years ago I went to Bardstown, Kentucky, and unfortunately I wasn't able to visit many of this. I wasn't able to visit any of the distilleries there. To be honest with you, I just wasn't in that place at that moment. But I have had all the whiskey there, and I got to tell you, I mean, if we're talking dollar for dollar bourbon, getting your money's worth. I mean, I don't know of another bourbon out there, to be honest with you, that even comes close to this at $23 a bottle. Again, I've had some at $40 and $50 a bottle that aren't even in the ballpark as this. This is quality on every level. So if you can find Rocktown products in your neck of the woods, or if you're traveling and are able to get them, I certainly recommend you doing so. This stuff is absolutely amazing. This is Tom the Beer Whisperer having some bourbon, and I will talk to you later, my friends.